Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about MCP, Model Context Protocol, an open source protocol for AI agents provided by Anthropic. Okay, so we'll first understand why do we really need MCP and how we can create a MCP server and then make use of it in AI agent stuff. Okay, so in this diagram, if you look into that, before MCP and after MCP kind of a scenario. Okay, so before MCP is nothing but like we created the LangGraph agent like in the last video, etc. Right, you can follow my video and see how I created it. It is very simple. So AI agent make use of the tool functions. We bind the tool to the AI agent and then we ask the query to the AI agent. So AI agent send the query to the LLM respond back with the tool message which contains the tool name and the argument, and then the AI agent invoke the tool and final response is sent back to the human. Okay, so this is the normal scenario. Now, if you want to build something called multi-agent, or if you have a complex scenario where you need to go to the web search and then talk to the API and then maybe talk to some other like some other tool like research tool, etc. Right? So in that case, you might be having multiple tool into your code, and then you have to read through each of the documentation and integrate all those library into your code and then complete the AI agent stuff. Correct? So this is what the scenario I have shown here. Web API tool client come protocol or format. They might have a different protocol or format, and similarly search tool client can also have a different format and protocol, etc. Right? So let me show you in the VS Code as well. This is particular the React agent code, which is this. If you look into this VS Code, if you are new to this video, this particular project structure is in UV using Python UV package manager to structure this particular project, and this is open source. This is in public repo. I will provide the link in the description section. Okay, so now let's talk about this particular piece of code. Created a function, then annotated tool, and then we created the agent using this tool's argument, and then make use of this particular query, what is the weather in SF, and then finally we are invoking this particular agent and get the response. Okay, now this particular piece is basically I'm talking about, this is tools that we are doing it in the code, right? So if you make use of the MCP, you don't have to write the code of the tool here. You can host your own MCP server and then make use of the single MCP client instead of having multiple tools set up in your logic. Like for example, if you are doing Archive, Google, all of them are providing the tools, correct? What you normally do, you have the project set up, you add the dependency of tool 1, then tool 2, then tool 3, and then you are going to write the code over here, and then you are going to supply that tool to the agent, correct? Now, in order to simplify that experience, overall experience, right, MCP is not all about tool. It also acts as a data access layer basically for the AI agent. So AI agent talk to LLM, right, and then make use of the LLM response can actually can get the tool data from the tools. So those tools, basically MCP server not only provide tools, they also provide prompts. They can also provide the resources, etc., like access to a particular file, database, access to API. So there are a lot of things that MCP server can provide to the agent so that agent can work seamlessly with the LLM, correct? So if you look into this particular diagram on the right hand side, MCP model context protocol, GenAI application. So what is the terminology? So let me talk about the MCP architecture before I dive into the how we can make use of the MCPs, how we can create the MCP server and the client. So in case of MCP, they talk three terms mainly: MCP host, MCP client, MCP server. If you look into this diagram, so MCP host nothing but this is the same host where the GenAI application is hosted, like is running. Okay, and then MCP server is additional server, separate server. So it may be a server set up by the Slack company or Archive or Google, right, organization. They can have the MCP server created like a separate machine which follow the MCP guideline to how to create a server, right? And then they can expose their API, maybe expose their database, maybe expose their terminals, maybe expose their files, etc., right? So they can expose anything with the help of MCP server, right? So, and in case GenAI application has to talk to this MCP server, we need to make use of the MCP client. Again, this is HTTP client to server communication, client server communication, which make use of the HTTP client and HTTP server, right? But here the only thing is that this MCP protocol is more aligned with LLM agent stuff, and instead of making use of the HTTP, it can do a lot more than that, right? And it this particular host MCP server, they can host tools like set of functions, they can host prompts like list of prompts that you can like get it from the server. They can also provide access to the resources like files, database, etc., right? And this particular client to server communication is having a message format of JSON RPC 2.0. Like every other protocol has a particular message format, etc. And it also supports HTTP post and HTTP server sent event. Okay, these are the two major way by which the client can talk to the MCP server. Okay, and in this particular example that I'm going to cover, we are going to take up the LangGraph based MCP adapter, which is LangGraph provided the MCP client in the name of LangGraph MCP adapter. Okay, and then we make use of that adapter as a client to talk to the MCP server. Okay, and the one more terminology you need to understand is protocol stdio. So if you want to access the file from your own machine, like for example if you are doing the laptop and writing the code for the AI agent, and you want to access the file which is sitting just beside the AI agent code, or maybe some drive, etc. So in order to access that file, you have to make use of the protocol as stdio. Okay, so when I see this particular box is nothing but MCP host, it means this particular file is present within this host itself. Okay, so in order to access this via MCP client, you need to make sure that you will make use of the protocol stdio. Okay, so MCP local file can also act as a MCP tool, or this one. The same thing I can show you in this particular website. If you look into this diagram by model context protocol.io provided by Anthropic. So if you look into this, this is nothing but the host machine, and this MCP server A, server B, server C, and we say local data source A means this database is present within the MCP server A. Okay, and this database is present within the MCP server B, and this is nothing but remote means this is remote for MCP server C. Okay, I'm just talking about this because some people misunderstood this thing, remote, local, etc. Here the local means local to A, local to B, and this is remote to C. Okay, and let's go back to this particular VS Code and see the code. So in this particular MCP client, I created an MCP client, which is again on the similar terminology like this MCP client. I name it as MCP client. Actually, it is an agent basically. And this particular agent is doing nothing. I'm just making use of the LangChain MCP adapter client, and then creating an instance of the model like the way I did earlier. And here the difference is I'm not creating any function here. I'm creating this particular async with multi-server MCP client block, and then I'm supplying this particular as client.getTools. Okay, instead of I am creating a function annotating with tool, I've just delegated this to the MCP client tools, and then make use of the agent to invoke the agent and then asking the query. Okay, now this particular client is talking to multiple server, MCP server, math server, and weather server. Here we are doing stdio, that is what I was talking about, accessing the file stdio. Here we are doing the SSE, server sent event approach. Okay, so I created a MCP tool server 1, which is again, this is again a separate, it is a file which contains the mathematical computational related functions annotated with tool, etc. And for creating an MCP server, you need to make sure that there are multiple way of creating a MCP server based on the languages. Fast MCP is one which we make use of it in case of Python. And this is the MCP tool server 2, which we created it. And here it is exposing it over the port localhost 8080. Localhost 8000. So I've already kept it running with the help of uv run command. Okay, this particular MCP server 2. So uv run command and MCP tool server 2.py. For the file, we don't require to run any server, etc. Now this particular client code, I'm going to invoke it. Okay, I've already invoked it earlier as well. So what it does, agent will simply gets the query which we have hard coded. You can obviously make it better, like production ready, by asking the query from the user, and then this particular query goes to the LLM, and the response come back with the tool message, and then tool message will actually invoke the AI agent will invoke the tool message. Okay, now this particular tool message is information will be based on this particular, and that tool message will get invoked by the agent with the help of MCP server. Okay, so as I hit enter, you will be able to see a big text for each one of them. Okay, so sending the request, and then finally you are getting the response. So in this case, if you look into this, we have a tool message which will get invoked. Okay, so the tool message is list multiply and this particular function, right? So this is a tool message by the LLM, and then we are actually invoking the tool. And once we are invoking the tool means calling the MCP server, and then invocation happen, and then the result is computed. Similarly here also, this is what the tool message is. Content, it's always sunny New York, etc. So this is how you can create your own MCP server. Even bigger organizations are creating their own MCP server. Communities are providing a lot of MCP servers. You need to make sure that you do not miss this basically boat in order to understand MCP server. And create your MCP server. Maybe you can access the MCP server with the help of MCP client. Basis on what language you are using, you can simply go to this site, choose whatever language you are using to get hold of the client, MCP client, integrate it within your code in the AI agent, and talk to the MCP server. If whatever access you want, like you want to access the API, you want to access the database, you want to access the terminal, lot of things can happen if you need to understand it thoroughly. So, and also for a given, just for the example, like even if you are using NX as a monorepo, like for setting up a project, etc., even NX, like tools like this are also start supplying their MCP server. So basically, if you are using the Cursor AI IDE, and your project is in basically NX, then you can simply start the MCP server for the NX, and then this Cursor AI can make a call to this MCP server and get the context of your entire project, so that you can easily ask question to the Cursor AI and then gets the better results. So this is how the application developer team also started creating the MCP server and providing you. Okay. So I hope I make you understand the concept of MCP server. You will adopt it, you will learn it, and I'm little late in coming with this video, but soon I will be creating videos quickly. So I hope you understand the concept very well. Stay tuned with me. Subscribe to this channel. Please hit the bell icon, and so to keep me motivated, please subscribe to this channel. Put the comment in the comment section. Let me know your thought about MCP. If you want to learn more about it, any actual case, then I will definitely be covering it in the upcoming video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.